Welcome back to your crafty place. Today is the third installment of the Spellbinders Craftoween box. This is day 3. It is a bottle. It's got insert here, the center section that says poison, and it cuts out the words so that you can either see the background or cut out different pieces to put in there. And we're going to do it kind of both ways. It's got the skull and crossbones, the cap, the topper part, and then this little part here goes right along the top, and this part here goes along the top of the bottle. So I have already cut out several different pieces here. I'm going to glue one of them with you right now, and then I'm going to glue the rest of them offline just because it's going to take a little bit of time. But I wanted you to see how to at least put one together. And then once I get them all done, then we'll come back and make a card and a little treat kind of basket. So I'm going to start with the green, and I think I'm going to use maybe the black on the green. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. These little pieces here are all pieces of the letters. I'm going to leave those in there because the black I will use on the insert of a different color. And then this just kind of gets lined up. It can go closer to the top and go closer to the bottom. It's kind of a personal preference here. I know the picture shows you one way, but as long as it fits, it fits. So I'm going to use my vintage photo distress ink from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to use the sticky mat that I have, or the gel mat here that I have inside my Misty, just to hold it because it's such a tiny piece. And then I'm just going to distress it a little along the edges. So now you can definitely tell the distinction between there. I am going to go ahead and also get a bottle topper here, and I think I'm going to use the cork one here. So there is a front and a back to these because it does push in a little bit on the sides, and that is the front. So I'm going to lay that down. I'm going to do it the same way, and then I'm going to distress just one side of the rest of it. So there is that and that, and then I'm also going to get the skull and crossbone, and I'm going to distress them just slightly as well. And again, when you look at it, you can kind of tell what's the front and the back because it kind of pushes it in on the one side, and on the other side it kind of looks like it's raised up a little bit, in the same way with the skull there. Alright, so I think that's all the distress inking we're going to do on those. I'm not going to clean that off because I am going to use it again here in a minute. But now I'm going to glue the rest of the pieces down, and I'm going to get my reverse tweezers to do this because you push to open it, and then when you let go it holds it. That way it doesn't fall on you. If you had to hold it all the time, you may accidentally let it go, and then you could have a mess. So I line it up kind of where I want it. And you could do this first, or you could do the top of the bottle first. Depends on if you want the top of the bottle to come underneath or not. I have not had it come underneath, so there is that. And then I'm going to grab this piece as well. Push down on a little bit and kind of let one of the sides come up. You can also use a pick tool or a jewel picker or something like that with these smaller pieces to pick them up as well. And then there is that piece. The glue will dry clear. And then I'm going to just glue a little bit along the bottom down here. And that goes right along the top of the bottle here. So there it is so far. And now it's time for the skull and crossbones. You could do the skull and crossbones however you want. You could do it this way and put the skull on the front or on the top, or however. In the picture it shows it like this, so that's how I'm going to do it on this one. I want to be sure that the edges all get glued down, so I'm going to hold it in the center because the edges are more likely to catch if you don't have it centered. To me, it looks like a little more space up here at the top than there is at the bottom. That's the direction I'm going to go this time. Doesn't have to be the same every time. And again, my glue is going to dry clear, so I'm not too worried about it. And then I'm going to put the face on here. Okay, if I decided that I wanted to do the poison, I could grab my pieces here. I'm just gonna, I won't be able to with this one because I was not paying attention here, and the N is over a little bit, but that's okay. You would stick your N in there. The S goes there. And then the long piece here is for the P. Going to get my picky tool here, or pick tool. This is the Stampin' Up! One, but We Are Memory Keepers has one, Silhouette has one, but these are kind of, could go in any of them, in the P's or the O's. The P's a little bit smaller. One is the eye, and again, you can kind of tell front from back just because of the way it indents whenever it dies it out, or whenever it die cuts it, sorry. Need to keep with the tweezers here and just use this to get it out of the little jar there. And then I'm going to and then look, here's the rest of them still in the red. There's that one. And see how the P, it's the side of the P is just a little bit smaller. So there it is if you wanted to put it down with different colors. So I'm going to go ahead and offline do the rest of the bottles, and then we're going to come back and we're going to make a card and, like I said, a little kind of like a treat bag, treat box for some candy. So I'll be right back. So these are all the different bottles that I made. This one has a glitter in there for the poison and the skull and crossbones. This one has the glitter for the background. These two I ran through with an embossing folder, and you could do it with any kind of embossing folder that you might like. It would just give it just a little bit of texture, makes it look a little bit different. So we are going to start off by making a card. I have a piece of yellow that is 5 1/4 by 4, and we are going to make this looks similar to wood grain. If you had wood grain paper, you could do that, but if you don't, then you can do it this way. I'm going to use my small ground espresso distressed ink color, and I'm just very lightly going to kind of rock as I take it down my paper, just going back and forth with it to give it a little bit of line. I'm going all the way down with it. If you wanted to add more, what you could do is take a brown pen or a black pen and do some like little circles to make it look as though it has been nailed in those spots where the boards are coming together. So where we've rocked and it looks like a new board is there, you can make it with just little dots to make it look like it's boards that have been nailed together. So there's that. So I'm going to get a black piece to put down here along the bottom to act as kind of a shelf. I'm going to do it 4 inches wide by about 1 inch high. And I'm going to just have it kind of hang out down here at the bottom with just a little bit where you can see the yellow on both sides. I'm going to glue this straight down onto the card, and then I'm going to use foam squares to pop up a couple of the bottles. Push that down a little bit more at the bottom than on the sides, just because that's the way I like it. So there's that, and then we're going to put a couple of the bottles on here just like that. You can have one kind of up a little higher, one down a little lower, so that it's different sizes on the shelf. Again, I just use foam squares. These are the Doris ones that are actually the mounting squares, but any foam squares or cutting out a couple more of the bottles themselves and putting them down would give you a little more dimension as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one right there. And then I'm going to do the same way with this one. And I'm going to put that one a little bit higher on the shelf, so it's going to come up here like that. This one looks a little crooked. Let's see if we can peel it off there. If I would have used glue, I would not have been able to, but the foam squares, usually you can peel them up if you haven't pushed them down. So I'm just gonna, you may have to add glue to it if you do peel them up, but I think we'll be okay. And then I have the the stamp set that came with the Craftoween box. And so you could use any of these. Hope Your Halloween is to Die For, I think would look cute since it is poison bottles. So we could stamp that right there. And then we are going to put this on a black card base. I think I'm going to do this on a piece of the black with white embossing powder. Use this powdered bag that I've had for years and put it down on there basically so that the powder doesn't stick where I don't want it to, and then we can get the rest of the powder off later. I'm going to stick this right here. Push that down. This embossing and watermark clear. I think this came in one of my Hero Arts card kits years ago. Push that down on there, and then I'm going to look. When you look at it and you tilt it up, I don't know if you can see it there, you can kind of see how good of an impression. I'm going to do it again just to make sure it's nice and juicy. I think that's good. And then I have just a sheet of 8.5 by 11 copy paper that I folded in half that I use to go over, and then this is the Lawn Fawn Glow in the Dark embossing powder. I'm gonna just shake that on there. think that's pretty good coverage. I'm gonna pick it up this way and go back with it like that. I think that's good. Okay, now I'm gonna dump that back in here. Try not to do the embossing powder around your stamps. If they were where you could feel the sticky part, don't do it on your MISTI, because if the sticky stuff gets on there, it's going to stick to your stamps, and you don't want that. So I'm going to quickly take I have this old Stampabilities heat embossing tool from Hobby Lobby years ago. I'm going to use one of these again. I've used these before. They're just a die. Again, it's got 2 different cuts in it. It'll cut the inner, and then it'll cut the outer, and so it will leave a frame around it that you could use if you want. But I'm gonna get this on here and use a bit of my mint tape from scrapbook.com. I die cut it. This is the frame that goes around the outside edge, so when you take this off, that came from the inner part right here, and then this is a separate piece. So that's how that works. And you can see it's not perfectly straight, but it'll be okay. And then I'm just going to glue it straight down on the wall here. And then I am going to take my white gel pen. If you weren't using black, you could use black, but I'm going to take my white gel pen here, and I'm going to take a scrap piece, just make sure it's working correctly. And then I'm going to put little dots in each of the corners to make it look like it's a sign that's hanging on the wall that we've put nails in. So there is that. Now we are going to take our card base and then push it down. This paper, the black paper, is the Park Lane paper that was from Joann's. It's a little better than what the stuff was, or the paper studio from Hobby Lobby. I think their black is really, really flimsy. I don't know that I've tried Michael's, but make sure the card is opening the correct way. Is that, and then I'm going to take a piece of just white paper to cut for the inside so that it's easier to write on. So I'm going to cut a piece for the inside that is 5 1/4 by 4. And that'll go right in here so that you can write on it. You could use a white pen if you wanted to and write on the black. There is the inside of it. And if you wanted to, you could take another one and, you know, stick it down on the inside of here. That would be strictly up to you. Or if you just wanted to take like the cross and skull bones and stick it in here, or like maybe just the cork bottle and stick it in here. I've got the top of that. If you wanted to decorate in here a different way, you could do that. So there is that. Okay, so now we're going to make a small box. I'm going to get my scoreboard. I don't like the scoring tool that comes with this scoreboard, so I'm going to use this bone folder instead. We need a piece that is 5 1/2 by 4 1/2. On the 5 1/2 inch side, we are going to score at 2 and at 3 1/2. Then we are going to turn it to the 4 1/2 inch side, and we are going to score at 1 1/2 and 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold these and burnish them before I do any cutting. I'm just going to fold and burnish, and then fold and burnish. If you didn't want to cut, you could score these so that it would fold up. I'm just going to cut down on either side of the score that we made here on the smaller section on the 5 1/2 inch side. So the center one of the 5.5 inch side on both sides, we want to cut away from the either side. So I'm just going to trim and trim. And one more here. And I cut it a little bit of an angle just so that it's easier for me to put together. It doesn't really matter if you do, if you're a good straight cut. And then you're going to put glue on both of these flaps and one side of this. So I'm gonna go one side of the longer one, sorry. I go like this and stick that one here, and then I'm gonna stick that one here. I like to put them in between, so you can put this glue on both sides of these if you wanted. So I'm gonna pop this one up and then finish putting glue on the top of this one and on the top of this one. And then we're gonna fold up, push down. We're gonna try and make sure that they are lined up, and then use your bone folder to kind of burnish it together. Whoops. So now you have a little box. If you need a little more glue, you can add a little more glue. I would probably use a heavier duty box. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, I ripped it there whenever I scored it, but it will be okay for what we need. And then I'm going to take 2 of my bottles here. Let's see, I think I'm going to take both of these green ones, and I'm going to stick one on each side. So I'm going to stick them on the sides where you can see them coming together. So I'm going to stick it on this side, and then by default I'll stick it on the other side. If you wanted to, you could put it on all 4. I'm going to set the box up and then put the bottle up next to it so that I know the bottle is as the bottom of the box and not below the bottom of the box, because then the box won't stand up. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take this one, glue it, put the box straight up and down, put my bottle on the table, and then push it up against the side so that I know that the bottom is on the ground, so that my box will sit flat. So now I have a box. This side has that one, this side has that. I could add additional ones on here if I wanted to, so that it was all the way around. Like if I wanted to do these that I made with the embellishment, I could stick both of these right on here like this, and then you'd have a box with them all the way around. I am not going to do that, but I will show you that these little Mento Pure Fresh gum things fit down in there. You can fit a couple of the fun size Snickers in there. I think even a Welch's little fruit snack thing will fit down in here. You have to squish it a little bit, but it will fit down in there. Let's see what else. I have a pack of gum. It won't quite fit in there, but I think the peanut butter cups will. Let's see here. So these are the smaller snack size peanut butter cups, and they fit down in there. You could probably get another piece of some kind of candy in there, but probably, well, you might be able to get 2 in there. Let's see. I don't think so. I think it would start to pop the box, so you could get 1 of those in there. So there is the box, and there is the card, and then I still have all of these that I can do something else with. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you again real soon. Have a good day. Bye.